everybody, it's Marcy again with Chunky Knitted Creations, and today I have a wonderful new tutorial for you. This is a pattern that I created myself, and we are going to use some pink and white yarn, and what we're going to make is going to look like this. It is a bow-shaped pillow. Isn't it cute? I did this one in my moss green and ivory yarn to match my couch pillows and everything that I've done before. So it comes out to be about 16 inches wide and about 16 inches tall with this pattern. So you can always add to it, make it bigger or smaller, or you can decrease the number of stitches. But we're going to do a pink and white one, and we're going to stuff it and close it up and all that good stuff. So you will need your trusty scissors and lighter as usual, and a big bag of polyfill or whatever brand you use. I got a bunch of it on clearance the other day. I was pretty happy about that. So again, this is moss green and ivory. It doesn't look like I have the best lighting, and hopefully the pink will look brighter. Yeah, that's a little better. The sun is shining really bright behind me today, and even though I closed my curtains, I really still couldn't shut it out, and I didn't want to because who wants to close out the sun? All right, I'm going to make this a quick one for you because my tutorials tend to be very lengthy and I talk a lot. So you'll need about 2 skeins of your base color for the bow, and then whatever you do for the tie in the middle if you want to change it. I think I used about a half a skein. I'm hoping this is going to be enough because you only have to knit like 5 rows for the middle. So for this pattern, we will cast on 9. You're going to do this the same way you would do a square pillow if you have ever made one. The base of it is going to start out like that. So 9 tight stitches, and you will not need, a very long tail or anything like you do with a plushie, because we're not going to be closing it up from down there. So 9 small stitches, because this is going to be the bottom seam of your pillow, and you want it to be, very tight and secure so no polyfill is showing through. So just pull through 9, to where you can just barely fit about 1 finger through it is what I do, maybe 1.5. Cast on 9. And I will write out the pattern again and put it in the description so that you'll know how many to cast on and how many to knit, because we're going to do some reducing and some increasing, and that can get a bit confusing if you don't have it written down. Okay, and please come to my Facebook group and post what you made after this, especially if you used my yarn. You will get some bonus points. I just released a new color, a dark espresso brown, that's really, really pretty. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I did 10. All right, always double, triple check your stitch count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we need to knit through the top and bottom of every stitch to get our pillow base, and it can be tricky when you do the first stitch here because it can pull it out. So make sure you bring it from behind and come up like this for your first stitch. All right, so bring it down and from behind and pull it through, and just kind of hold on to it while you're knitting because it will pull this one out. And then bring your working yarn around behind this one, okay, and then come through the top of this stitch, okay. So you're going to fold this one over. We want a row of stitches on the top and the bottom, and just kind of hold on to this little end guy because he can get kind of loose and start to fall out, and you don't want to do that. And always unwind your yarn before you start. Boy, my camera is making everything look white. So yes, always unwind your yarn, and don't be like me. Make these stitches small too. Everything should be small and tight when you're doing anything that you're going to stuff, because you don't want polyfill coming through. And I am a person that has a hard time knitting tight, so I've been practicing at that, sorry, as I make these new tutorials. If I had a clip, I would clip this too, just to make sure. Once you knit around a couple times, you don't have to worry about it coming out, but it can be really bad if it does, because then you got to start over. So knit through all 9. Hopefully you can see this good. It's been a constant struggle for me to find the correct over-the-shoulder mounting system for my phone to do these videos, and every time I get a good one, it breaks like within a month, and then I'm trying to find another one, and it's been rough. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this one luckily hasn't fallen out. So now we're going to turn this around, okay, and here's your working yarn, and here's that little tail, okay. So just go behind it, because we're going to end up folding this in half. And then you're going to pull through right across from this stitch, across from each one of them, so that they're lined up good. This is not a stitch here, okay? This is where you cast it on. This is your stitch. And then you're going to pull through there. Okay. You can zoom in a little bit while you're watching this too, but I'm just pulling through the top or the bottom part of what was the cast on row now. And there's other tutorials on YouTube that show you how to make a square pillow, and if you want to watch some of those first too, and just see how they do the start of it, like I'm doing right here. It's the same thing. I started out watching other people too. I am not ashamed to admit it. I watched tons of YouTube videos. That's how I learned to knit. I don't mind people saying that. We're all in this fun hobby together. So 9, again, this one, hold on to this guy right here, this very end one. Okay, let's see if we've got 9. I think we have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now you got to pull through right here on the other side of that stitch. And just hold on tight to it. Just the end stitch can be tricky, okay? When I'm doing a square pillow, I actually want side seams going up, so I knit through here and here too, so that I get a nice, wide base for it. So now we're going to turn it around again. Pretty soon we're going to fold this in half, and you'll see it's going to look more like a pillow. And carefully pull through this stitch so that it doesn't pop that piece out there. Okay. We are going to knit 9 rows like this, okay? 9 rows of 9 stitches is the first part of the pattern. Get some more yarn. This isn't a full skein, so, I'm going to need, but when I made the green one, I wrote out that I used 2, I think it was 2 full skeins of the moss, or about 2. It wasn't any more than 2. Sorry, I'm so bad at that. I'm very fortunate to have tons of yarn, so I tend to not count how much I've used. But I know when I first started out, it was like, this stuff is so expensive. I wanted to know exactly what I needed, because I didn't want to buy 3 or 4 extra skeins and not need them. And yeah, it can get costly. Very expensive habit that I got myself into. But that's why I started my own yarn company, so I could get all the yarn that I needed to feed my habit. People in my group keep saying we need to start a Yarnaholics group. All right, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that little guy right here needs to be knitted through. All right. So we've got 2 rows of 9 on this side. We're going to flip over here again. So we're going to be folding this in half like this. And this is going to be the bottom seam. So we want to make sure that this little tail that we started out with goes inside it, okay? So when you get to where you're pulling this around now after a couple rows, tuck it in. All right. So there's one, and make sure they stay across from each other like that so it lines up good. It'll be easier to tell where they line up after you fold it in half. I just don't like to fold it with this pattern until I've done a few rows, because again, the end stitch can be a little tricky there. But once you get a few rows knitted, it's pretty secure and you don't have to worry about it. Actually, it's very secure after that because I made a pillow out of it and it didn't come loose. Alright, so as you can see, I'm just pulling my working yarn through my stitches just like you do a blanket. Come behind it. Push your yarn through, in and out, okay? So now we've got 2 rows of 9 on each side, 2 here and 2 here. And as you can see, let me show you, this middle piece here is your seam, right through here. So you're gonna fold right in half in the middle now. Let's see if we can get it to fold. And flatten it. Tuck in that tail piece. Okay, flatten it. Make sure you've got 9 on each side. We left off on that side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, you can even wait if you want to until you've got one more row, but you need to get it folded so that your side pieces will be tight. Because now, this is going to be the side of the pillow when you fold it in half. And if you keep knitting around without folding it, you're going to have a big gap right here. So I don't like to do more than 2 rows. Some people only do 1 and they fold it in half, and that's fine too, whatever you're comfortable with. Alright, so just get your working yarn, pull it through each stitch. It's hard to get my hands out of the way and knit at the same time. But I hold my stitches really close together so that I make sure that I don't have any gapping in between here. I always put them right next to each other and then pull my yarn through. So I mean, these are super tight together, as you can see. If you lose count of your rows, I'll show you how to go back through. If you accidentally do 10 rows instead of 9, it's not going to hurt anything. We're going to quickly decrease down to 5 stitches to give that bow shape. Okay. This is row 3. Okay, I'm going to flip it. Keep it folded in half. And then again, make these 2 tight together on the side there where it's folded. Push it together and then pull your yarn through across from it for your stitch across from it, so that you don't have a gap here. It's really important that you do that. Keep them close together. Okay. See that there? You don't want big holes in there, so you try to keep this really tight together. In fact, I think I did it tighter last time. But you don't get a ton of stuffing at the bottom of it anyways, so if you got like one little gap there, just try not to shove any stuffing through it. And hopefully I won't forget to stuff the pillow before closing it up this time like I did on one of my other tutorials. It was a heart pillow that I did, and I just kept on going and forgot to put filling in it. That was fun. I had to take it all apart. See, no matter how long you've been knitting, you will still make mistakes. I've been doing this almost 5 years now. Alright, so flip it over again. Just keep going back and forth. Okay, your working yarn's on the other side over here, so make sure again you push these 2 together. Pull your yarn through. Okay, so that it keeps this tight. Make your stitches small to where you can fit 1 finger through them. It's really important when we get to the band, I call it, in the middle, that they're really tight and small. Especially in a dark color where I did that moss green and ivory, it really shows if you don't get it really tight when you start to stuff it. Okay. I hope you all keep knitting with me all summer. I know that chunky blankets are really more of a cold weather item, but as far as people using them, but we like to knit all year round. So I always try to come up with projects like this for you that you can do in the summer. Um, like my watermelon pillow that I did, and I'll come up with some other fun like summer projects for us too, because I miss my knitting. I can't go all summer without it. I don't know about you guys, but it relaxes me. I ask my daughter, I drive her nuts with it. It's all over the house. It's in my bed every night. I'm knitting something. I probably have 2 or 3 projects going throughout the house all the time. All right. I should have unwound my whole skein so I don't have to keep doing this, but I'm bad. I get in a hurry and want to get going and forget to do it. I already, this comes vacuum sealed, my yarn from Amazon, so it gets pretty flat. And I had already unwound this earlier and let it sit out for a couple hours, and it fluffed up pretty good. I mean, I could fluff it with a whisk and make it better, but it's, to me, once I pull it through and the pillow sits for a while, it fluffs up even after it's knitted, so. Some yarn is softer than others, and it flattens a lot, so you really gotta get it really good with the skein, or sorry, with the whisk. Okay, and I'll show you how I close up the top of my pillows. That makes it almost seamless too. It'll look just like this, even though we aren't doing it the same way. All right, and let's flip again. Make sure you hold these two together. Your working yarn will be on the back side. Make sure you hold these two together and push it through. Make sure there's no big gap right there. Okay. My niece is going to love this. Actually, it's my older niece this time too. She was asking me, can you make me a bow pillow? She doesn't usually like stuff like that, but the girls are wearing everything with bows on them lately, so it gave me the idea. And I know it doesn't have, like the bow strands hanging down, but you could add something onto the bottom of the pillow to make it look like that if you wanted to. And I bet you if I continued to work on it, I could think of a way to add the strings hanging down. And wait till you see the beautiful blanket that I made to go with this. I'm gonna put it in the intro to the video. I did a navy blue and pink and white striped blanket, and it just turned out so nice. Never would have thought to put those colors together, but I just happened to be bouncing my yarn around, organizing it one day, and I looked back and there was dark blue and pink and white together, and I thought, wow, I like that, Made a blanket with it. It came out so gorgeous. I might give her the blanket too. Oops, hopefully she's not watching my video. She's been watching them a lot lately, learning how to make her own blankets too. All right, we're getting there. You can start fast forwarding until you get to the part where I stop knitting with the pink and I switch to the white, and then maybe just back it up a little bit if you don't want to hear me sit and yap for the next few minutes while I knit 9 rows. I used to fast forward through the tedious parts like this, but I had some people tell me, please don't do that. I really like to watch the whole thing, just to help them, pick up on their knitting styles. And they felt like they were missing part of it. So if you're more advanced and you want to, you know what to do, you can you've made some square pillows or whatever, go ahead and fast forward until you see me get ready to switch to white. I'm a pretty fast knitter, but it still can get tedious. We're getting there though. Hold it together. getting there. I might just fast forward a little bit of it for you to shorten this, because we're doing the same thing over and over. Knit and stitch, knit and stitch. Push it through, pull it out. Make sure they're all the same height. Just check them against each other. You know, like I'll take my first one, make sure, okay, one finger, and then when I pull them all through, I just make sure it matches that. You know, but again, after you've done it for a while, you can just eyeball it. Flip it over, hold the sides together, pull your yarn through. Make sure you didn't leave a gap there. It's looking good. And when I get close to 9, I'll show you again how I count my rows. So I'm just bringing my working yarn through the back here, pushing it through, pulling it out. Bring the working yarn, hold them together, tight as you can, push it through, pull it out. Make sure there's no gap in between. Bring it around, push it through, pull it out. Just like a blanket. You could do this with the purl stitch too, and then do knit stitch for the middle, or even just all purl. That would look pretty too. See, the inside is purled. That's what I try to, everybody will ask me, how do you do a purl stitch blanket? How do you do a purl stitch blanket? I'm like, you have a blanket that you've already made that you did the knit stitch with? Guess what? Just flip it over and it's purled. And it's a lot easier to do it that way than to have to purl. Because when you purl, you take the yarn around the front and push it through. Okay, and it can get, it's just awkward after you've learned how to knit stitch for so long. So I just tell people flip it over. Flip it over and do the knit stitch, and then flip it back over and do it again. If you're doing like a garter stitch blanket where it's 2 rows of knits and 2 rows of purls, knit 2 rows, flip your blanket over, knit 2 more rows, flip it back over, and just keep doing that back and forth, and then you'll have knits and purls. But we can't do that with this because it's a 2-sided thing. I like to always make my pillows one piece. I hate having to make 2 identical pieces and then, you know, seam them together up the side like a lot of people do. It's just, it never turns out the same size for me. And it ends up looking messy. I would rather have that, you know, look right there. So I find a way. I do apologize for the lighting. I thought I was doing good by having that nice sunny window behind me, and it's making everything look very pale. This is actually a very bright baby pink. My petal pink is, which at the time of filming this is out of stock again. It's hard. I have released so many colors now. I think I'm up to 36, and it's really hard to keep them all in stock, so I keep running out of at least one color, but I always reorder. And this fall, I will have tons of inventory. You could reduce this to like 6 for the cast on, and then do like 6 rows up, because we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. Well, actually 8. And then it would make a much smaller pillow, but I wanted it to be like a, you know, couch cushion or a throw pillow for a couch, so I made them bigger. You just have to reduce, you know, when we start to reduce, it should be almost half of the size of this, because you want it to be pinched together like a bow in the middle. And you do it all in one. You don't have to gradually reduce. We're getting there. This is 8. I'm gonna have to burn in another skein. And just keep pulling these back up if they start to get wonky on you. flatten them. There you go. That's a nice tight knit job. I'm getting better at it. Alright. When I started making blankets, I just thought they needed to be looser because of the ones that I was seeing on Etsy and all the other places. A lot of them were made with merino wool, and they were knitted very loose to look like, more like an Afghan. And so when I started doing hand knitting, I thought, well, they should be loose like that. So now there's a lot of patterns that I do, like graph blankets, and they need to be tight. And I had a hard time retraining myself. All right, let's burn in another skein. So that one that I just used wasn't even a full skein. This one here is a brand new skein. Unwind a bunch of it. I'm going to be switching colors in a minute, so I won't unroll it all. So we're going to burn our two ends together. I'll show you how I do it again. I demonstrate it in every video. I always cut the end pieces off just to bare the core. All chunky yarn that you buy should have a plastic core. If not, it's going to be very hard to switch. I got a dirt spot there. It's going to be very hard to join them. You would have to tie them together if you get some kind of yarn that doesn't have a plastic core. All right, so I always push back to where I can feel the plastic piece sticking out. This one you can actually see it, And if you ever get yarn that when you cut it, it just starts falling apart, it happens sometimes. The core got dissolved. So just hurry up and singe it with your lighter and leave it alone, and it will not fall apart on you anymore. And if you're going to burn it together, same way, you're just going to light it up really good, and then when you're done using that skein, you want to seal it so that it's not shriveling everywhere. It doesn't mean necessarily that it's a bad skein of yarn. It just happens sometimes. I've had a few of them like that. So I let it burn really good, and then I push them together real hard so that they connect. And that one stuck to my fake nail. Happens to me a lot. Alright, push it together and then pick that off. Okay. Now you start squeezing and massaging and just roll it around like that so that you don't get that sharp piece. Okay. You can take it between your fingers and roll it. Squeeze it sideways. Make sure it's joined really good. Squeeze it this way and just give it a good tug. Okay, that baby ain't going nowhere. Okay, so let's see here. I think this is 9. And if you get a skein of yarn that sometimes will have, like I'm noticing a little dark spot here, sometimes that happens in the dyeing process, even with stuff I bought from the stores. If you wash it first, that should come out. If it bothers you, if it's like something like a pillow, it would be very noticeable. So, if you start seeing a lot of it, you should take it and wash it. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 still. And let's see how many we got. 1. Just poke your fingers through the holes, and that's how many rows you're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then this was our cast on. So this side is done with the pink, and then I believe we were on 8 on this one. Yeah, see how it's uneven? So this should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yep. And I don't count the cast on row for this pattern. So we are going to, I have my pattern written down next to me, just so you know. It's a good idea for you to write it out on a piece of paper when you're making something that has a lot of changes in it. Hopefully I'm not going off screen too much. Hold these back. Okay, so now we have 9 on both sides, and we need to shrink this down to 5 rows really quickly so that you get that shape in the middle. And then, let me see if I can get this all on camera for you. See how it goes really tight right here to be, you know, a bow shape. So I did 9 all the way to here, and then I quickly reduced it down to 5 to squeeze it together in the middle like you would for a bow. Alright, so it's kind of up to you where you want to reduce your stitches. So to reduce stitches, you combine basically. So when you put 2 together, you're taking away 1 stitch. And we need to take away 4 stitches because we started with 9 and we want to go to 5. So we need to take away 4 stitches. So that would take away 1. And then if you go over here and do this, this would take away 2. And then you could do like skip 1 and then 3 and 4 like that, okay? So it's kind of up to you, but I would like write down which stitch numbers you do it on so that it's the same on both sides. So, okay, I'm putting these one over top of the other, okay? I like to do the outer edge when I'm reducing because I want that shape. And I take the outer one and put it over top of the inner one, okay? So that's stitch number 9, I put over number 8. And then I'm gonna pull my yarn through it. And I want this to be really tight right here, so I'm gonna leave that small. All right, so then let's skip 1, and then we'll go to here. Let's see if I do that. 2, so that would give me 1, 2, 3, and that would give me 4 and 5, yeah. So let's do these 2, and I think I'll just leave the middle one. Sorry, I might have to do this twice because I didn't write down what stitch numbers I did. So now we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I know I'm gonna do this, so that will make it 6, and then I'm gonna leave this middle guy alone, okay? So if you wanna just tell yourself that, you know, I don't wanna combine anything on the middle stitch and just do the outer 2. Now these I'm gonna go this way because again, I want it to curve in like a V. And then pull through, make it a small stitch, okay? Hopefully this will come down to 5. If not, I will have to redo it. I'll write this down again in the pattern that I put on the thing. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I reduced the outer stitches and then the 2 more, and then I left the middle one alone. Okay, now flip it over and we're gonna do the same thing. There's a string there. So my working yarn is there. Okay, I'm gonna take this over this. Okay, outer over the inner, 9 over 8, and pull my yarn through. Okay, nice small stitch there. I'm gonna do it again, which is stitch number 7 and 6, and I'm gonna pull that through. It's kind of hard to get it through 2 stitches, and again, do these ones this way, and you know, to the shape of your pillow. The middle stitch we don't want to combine. Okay, so we're just pulling one through, and then these ones we're going to go over that way so that it's shaped right. Okay, and then we're going to do this one, 1 over 2. Try to remember to write this in, and then pull that through. All right, so now we're down to 5 on both sides. We're going to flip it over, and then you're going to get your color out now that you want for your middle band. I'm going to use white, but for the start you want to knit through this once, because whenever you're switching from knit to purl, even on a blanket, even though I want to purl stitch these rows, if I purl stitch the first row, when I go from knit to purl, it's going to have those dots, and I don't like to see that. So I'm going to knit my first row of my band color, and then I'm going to purl 4 rows. So you won't see the first row, but now we're going to switch colors. and get started on the band. Okay, let's switch to our middle band color. So we are gonna cut right behind this last stitch, pretty close, because we don't want to show the white on the side of the pillow. And grab your color that you're gonna use for the middle. And I'm gonna pull this last stitch out a little bit. I was gonna pull it all the way, but it was a combined one, and those can be a pain. So I want just a little extra space to burn these two together. And I'm really picky about my pieces that I burn. I'm gonna trim them back so it doesn't catch a big flame and leave a big burn spot. So just kind of trim off some of that until your core piece is like sticking out. Sometimes it can take me a minute to get it the way I want it, especially with white, because you know it really shows if you got a burn mark on it. Okay, we're good now. So I'm gonna hold them both. Sometimes I only burn one, but lately I've been burning two, especially when I do a graph blanket where I burn a lot. I want to make sure it's secure. And these torch lighters are great because they seem to just hit that core piece. Push it together, hold it. See, there's a little bit of a black mark right there. I don't like that. You can trim that off if it's going to be in a spot where it will show. This is actually going to be tucked inside the pillow, so I'm not going to worry about it. But if that were going to be on a blanket, all right, start squeezing. You want it to still be warm when you start massaging it, but not so much that it's going to burn you. And again, this one's going to be down inside here, so I'm not going to be too concerned if it's a little pokey. All right. Okay, just give it a really good tug. You don't want it coming apart, especially a pillow, because people are going to be laying on it and tossing it around, and, you know. All right, so now I pulled that out a little bit. I need to pull it back through so that I can actually fit a stitch through it when I come over. Okay, so I'm on this side, switched colors. I'm going to start the band now, and I'm going to knit the first row. Okay, make them small. Okay, see, I can see a little bit of the white on the side there, and I don't like that. So I'm going to pull it through more, and then to where I can only see pink. All right, now just go all the way around with your new color. One stitch. Sorry, I want that smaller. I made my stitches a little too big on the first one, and this kind of stretches out when you stuff it, so I told myself do this part really tight and push it together really good so it will look nicer. Flip it over. Yes, my stitches are folding down a little bit, but that's okay. I'm gonna just pull them back up. Nice small stitches. I just know my niece is gonna see this video and go, oh, where's my pillow? And I wanted to actually give it to her for her birthday, but no, I ratted myself out and I'm gonna have to give it to her early. But that's okay. I'll make her something else for her birthday. She's one of the few people in my family that still appreciate my knitting projects. Okay, one of the first color. Now we are going to purl 4 rows, okay? And it will look like 3 when we're done. Okay, so to purl, you're gonna bring your yarn around the front and push it through. Okay, so I'll show you that again. Just, you can put your working yarn right on the front of your pillow, so you'll remember that you're purling, and you're gonna push through the front and pull out the back. Okay, the opposite of what you normally do. Small stitches here, remember, and hold them tight together. Push it through the front of the loop and pull it out the back of your loop, and that's a purl stitch. Push it through, pull it up. I just thought it looked better to do the band with purl stitches. You can do it with knit if it's too hard for you, or if you don't like it, just personalize it. just like we do everything else. Okay, so there's one row of pearls on that side. Again, hold these together closely, and you're bringing your working yarn instead of behind it. You're gonna actually go like this. So you're gonna see a nice strand right here that's gonna cover any hole, and you're gonna push it through the front of that first stitch. Okay, grab your next loop, push through. Okay, we're getting there. Push through the middle one, make sure they're the same height, just barely fit one finger through, and you'll have a perfect purl stitch. All right, see that one's a little big, so just give it a tug, make them even, flip it through. Okay, flip it over, bring this around the side. Okay, it's gonna go on the outside instead of the inside. You're gonna go on the outside. Okay, and then push it through. Okay, see, nice. All right, push it through the next one. There we go. Keep your working yarn on the front of your pillow. That way you don't accidentally do a knit stitch. It'll remind you to push it through the front instead of pull it through the back. Make sure there's no gap. There's going to be some gap right here because when you do purl stitches, they alternate. They're not going to be lined up perfectly. Okay, you'll see one in between actually. It turns out really cool. Push it through the last stitch. Tighten the gap. There you go. We've got 5 on this side. Flip it over. Bring your working yarn around the front. Okay. Push it through. There you go. This is our second row of pearls. You can do as many as you want. If you want your band to be wider than mine, just add a couple more rows. This is not as hard as it seems. I'm just trying to explain every step very well for you, but really it's, you knit 9 rows, squeeze it down to 5, knit, or purl a few, redo, and then when you start here, we're going to actually increase back to 9 really quick. I'll show you how to do that. Flip it over. Increasing is a little bit different. You're going to knit in between. This is our 3rd row. So you see by knitting that first row in right here, we don't have any dots showing like it happens on blankets. I always do that on my blankets too. When you flip it over, you'll see the dots. There's no way to avoid it on both sides, but at least one side, your front side of your blanket, will have, just nice straight clean lines if you're doing a striped blanket. And if you want to count your pearls, you grab the top of the loop and just 1, 2, 3. Ignore these ones in between, okay? It can get confusing when you're counting pearls. Like this one here. So here's my loop. There's only 2 notches on it, not 3. Pull it around the front. Push through. Make sure you don't miss a loop because they start to tuck in when you purl, and there's such a tight area here. So you gotta find your stitches as they're folding in like this. Make sure you've got 5. Okay. Flip it over, and let's see, 1, 2, 3. We need 1 more row on this side, 1 more row on the other side, I believe. Push it through. sure you find your hidden stitches here as I start to fold in. So as you can see, I didn't even use maybe a quarter of a skein for the middle piece. Okay, hopefully I'll have enough. I should only gotta do 5 more stitches. Alrighty, let's see. Now when you're switching back in this direction and you're going from purl back to knit, you don't have to do that extra row. It won't leave dots. It's only when you're going from knit to purl. And you're going back to knit stitches, you don't get the dots. Alright, so this is going to be our last bit for the band color. It's so fluffy, my white yarn. It's just love it. Softer than what I used to use from the craft store. I won't say any names. We all have our favorite brands. And of course I'm going to be a little, you know, picky over mine. There we go. Alright, so now we've got our band. Okay, so now you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of purls. Okay, now when you're done with the band and you want to switch back, or now we want to switch back to our pillow color now. So this is the side here, okay, and you're going to tuck that in. Leave yourself a little bit to change colors. I'll show you how much. You can always redo it. See, I still had even a little bit left. You don't need much at all for the middle piece. All right, leave a little nubby there and go back to your band color. And if you want to get brave and try and make these striped, you go right ahead. You could alternate colors at the bottom. Okay, I made that a little too long. I don't want any of the white showing on the pink. But yeah, you could do stripes down here or something, or add some polka dots in there, or some hearts. Oh, that'd be so cute. Like down here, maybe do a couple of stitches of a different color, but then your heart would be sideways, so like I said, doesn't make sense. But it would give it some design. It would look like a V or something. Alright, push that back. I can't really pull this out too much or I'll mess up my design here. So yeah, I'm back to using torch lighters because the ones I was using before, they were just running out so fast. I'm gonna blow that one up because it was getting too... Alright, so you can blow these out if you want. Just gotta be careful because if you've been letting it burn for a while, wax can kind of go, or plastic can go flying. Push that together. I made a really small piece here, so it's kind of hard, but I want this to look good. Alright. Push it together on both sides and hold it. I want it to be very secure. And then I can start squeezing it. But again, I know this is going to go inside the pillow, so I'm not going to be too picky about the sharp piece. This one's a little sharp. There we go. So now we are going to knit stitch, okay? Pull through there. We're going to do 1 row of 5 again. And then we're going to increase back to 9 because it would be too hard to increase from here. You'd start putting stitches in between here and it would look bad. You'd see the pink. So knit 1 row of 5 of your pillow color again. I'm going to call this more of an intermediate tutorial. Not saying that a beginner can't do it, but it's just, you know, there's a few steps here that I would have been intimidated by when I first started out. And in my beginners group, I get this a lot. There's people that'll come in and they say, wow, these people here don't look like beginners, you know. And just know that everybody goes at their own pace. Some of us have all day to sit and knit and learn these things. Some of us only get to work on it, you know, a couple hours every few days, you know, based on our schedules. So you might see a beginner that's already doing graph blankets and already making plushies and you know, they're a beginner because they haven't been knitting for a year yet or anything. I guess, you know, I don't have any rules in my group saying you're not a beginner if you've been knitting for a year, you know. It's just what you consider. If you need beginner based tutorials and beginner help, come to my beginners group. If you don't, go to the Chunky Yarn Blanketeers group. And again, I always link them all in the comment or in the description, sorry, the description of my all of my videos, so that you can come to the Facebook group and ask me questions. You can ask questions on YouTube, but you'll get more interaction there in the Facebook group. All right, so now it's the tricky part. We need to increase back to 9 so that our pillow will widen again, okay? So on this side, I've got 5, and if you remember down here, I started crossing them all over. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need 9. So if I got to add 4 more stitches, and we're going to go in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. If you put a stitch in between each one, it should get you back to 9. All right, so what we're going to do is we're knitting now, doing knit stitches, not purls. So you're going to come behind it, knit 1, okay, a small stitch. Now we're going to go in between these and find that string. It's actually pretty easy now because it's pink. And pull a stitch through it and make it a little bit bigger so that they're even. Okay. And it's not very hard to do when we made these small. Now you're going to knit through the stitch that was already there. All right. And if you get too much white showing through there, pull it back out. Ugh, it was really tight. Sometimes when I pull my yarn through it, it pulls through the previous color. But now, there. I just don't want any white showing. You're gonna see some of it in between. It's impossible. There we go. I could have knitted maybe another row of pink and it might have been better. But it, you know, you're changing from white to pink, so you're gonna see something. So anyways, back to the, sorry, I get a little sidetracked thinking, maybe I could have did it better. Maybe I could change this. And one of my professionals in my group will help me. They'll come up and say, hey, Marsh, you know, maybe if you do this, you won't get all that white showing through. And I really should test my tutorials with my ladies in my group that have been there a long time and, you know, get ideas from them before I release them. But I just don't have a whole lot of time these days. And I get eager to get a tutorial out. And it still looks good this way. So, alright. So let's see where we're at. How many stitches? I don't know why I have green coming. Alright, so this is the front. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there's 8. So I need to increase 1 more. And they're going to look a little funny, like they're coming in and out like this. But once you knit through them again, they'll be fine. Alright, and I made my increase stitches a little bigger because this is actually 2 stitches. This is 1. You don't have to get them quite as high, but just, you don't want to just make it a low stitch because it won't line up right. Alrighty. Okay, so now I've actually, believe it or not, I have 9 there. We're going to hold my stitch, flip it over so that I know these 5 here are the back of the pillow. I'm going to knit through the first one. And then I'm going to increase in between. Okay, make them about the same. Knit through the next one. And just push that stitch. And let me unwind a little more. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I got too much white showing, so I'm going to try to pull that through again without it pulling through some of this. Okay. It's hard to do when there are tiny stitches. So I take my thumbnail and I push back on that piece there so that it doesn't come out as much. There we go. And then I like to pull it over because I'm really picky about the other color showing through. Sorry. All right. So now we got to increase again. So you're going to knit your stitch that's there and then knit in between the next one. Every stitch on this one. And it comes out to be 9. pull one in between. Okay. All right. Pull it back out a little bit. I don't want it too big. And then I'm going to knit through the stitch that was already here, number 4. Okay, and then again in between. And then I'll count them and make sure I didn't miss any. Now I'm knitting my last stitch, number 5, that was already there. He was number 5 before. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Perfect. All right, and you'll see, you know, there's a little bit of white there, but you can't avoid all of it, really. It's just not possible. Alrighty, and then now we have 9 stitches, and we are going to do 9 rows. 1, 2. See, now you're going to knit every stitch that's on here. Make sure you count 9, because those ones that we increased pop out, and then our older stitches that were already there, they'll push back. See how they're kind of weaving in and out like that? So just make sure you don't miss a stitch. If you find out a couple rows ahead that you did, just go ahead and increase again. It probably won't show up too much. Or if you're a perfectionist like most of us, we would take it apart. Practice makes perfect. And to the people in my Facebook groups, I apologize. I showed you guys this bow pillow that I made quite a few months ago, or a couple months ago at least, and I had been promising everybody that I was going to make this tutorial, and life just got so crazy and so swamped that I just didn't have time. But I am slowing down now and getting back to making tutorials again. So if you have any requests, just let me know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we need 9 rows of 9, just like we had 9 rows of 9 here. You can just, you know, put your finger in them and count them. You can also measure. You know, maybe you made them too small and or bigger on one side than the other, and you might need 10 rows to get the same length. Because this type of pillow, you got to make sure that your side pieces are exactly the same size, or it'll look funny. All right. So 9 rows of 9. Cast on 9. Knit 9 rows of 9, reduce to 5 for 1 row of your base color, I call it, and then switch to your band color, knit the first row of it, then purl 4 rows. Then you have to switch back to your base color and increase to 9 again by pulling up a stitch in between every stitch where you had 5. Okay, then you'll be back to 9, and you're gonna knit 9 rows of 9 again, and then I'll stuff the pillow. Hopefully I don't forget. I even wrote it down in big bold letters on my pattern this time. Stuff the pillow, and then I'll show you how I close it up in a very nice seamless way that it will look just like the bottom. Pretty proud of it. It's one thing I'm pretty good at. I love making couch pillows, throw pillows, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to come up with some new ones. I wish the coloring was better. I'm going to try and adjust that when I edit this video to show my true pink. So again, we are knitting, not purling. Hold close together, pull from behind, and out the front and up. Hold close together, push your working yarn through your hole, pull out, and then up. That's a knit stitch. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. It gets kind of hard at starting to round off now, so you'll not know which one is your front and your back. But just make sure you have like a total of 18. If you want, you can stuff this half right here to make it easier, um, because this is kind of tight. And then, you know, you've got to get all the polyfill down into here. So, like, maybe right after you're done with your band, before you get here, you can stuff this to make it a little easier. I don't bother me. I'm just going to shove it down in there. But a lot of people do like to stuff their projects when they're like halfway done. I always forget for some reason. I don't know what it is with me. Okay, so I fast forwarded a little bit till I got through all of the knitting, to the point where I can actually stuff it now. So I did 9 rows of 9, just like I did on this side, and then you'll have 1 row of 5. So when you count with your fingers, you'll have a total of 10 rows. 9 rows of 9, 1 row of 5 of your base color. And then there will be a total of 5 rows of your band color. 4 of them will be purled, and the first one here will be knitted, but you won't see it because it'll blend in. Okay, and then now we will stuff it, but I just wanted to show you the measurements again. So unstuffed when it's flat, my pink side over here is 8 inches. My pink side over here is also 8 inches. And then your band, this one's about 3 inches. So you could easily go one more row if you want there, but you want this to be scrunched together so it looks like a bow. All right, now we're gonna get our polyfill. I got mine next to me. Pull it over on the chair here. Excuse the noise. I have wood floors. And you wanna spread your polyfill out and fluff it up good. That's what will make it expand a little more and save you some money. I like to do this. I'm gonna shove it down in there. Get it into the corners here first. Get it as fluffy as you want it. With the pink yarn, I ended up using just under 2 skeins. I'm still gonna need a little more here to close up the top, but it's still just under 2 skeins of my yarn, which averages about 31 to 32 yards. I've measured out plenty of them. Rarely do I see one that's 30 yards because, you know, it's sold by grams, by weight, 250 grams, so it's not all going to be exactly the same, but most of the ones that I've measured were 32 yards. A couple of them were 31. Darker colors way more, because they have so much dye in them, so you might get just a little bit less, but you should never see one really under 30. Polyfill, probably will need about half a bag of the 16 ounce is what I used last time. Unless you want it super thick for some reason, but that might stretch your stitches out too much. Fluff this up good by pulling it apart. You don't want to overstuff things, like I said, because the polyfill will start coming through. And then just feel it. See if you think it's too hard or not enough in there. You can reach inside and pull the filling over so that your corners are more pointed. There we go. just want it to be a little bit fluffier. Yeah, it's probably a better idea to stuff this half when you get the band done. But again, not impossible to do it this way either. I just didn't want to do that for the tutorial because I wanted you to see what it looked like when we were all done knitting without any filling in it. You don't want to stuff this end too much so that you can't close it up, you know. You can always add a little more when you get halfway through or something. But measure it. I turn and look at the sides to make sure, you know, see this side is already higher than this one. So I'll flatten it out a little bit. Okay, and you can see I'm just about to the top here. I'm gonna add a little more. Worked out good. This was a bag that I used for the other one. And there's just enough for 2 pillows in there. Alright, so you'll go like this and you'll see this is gonna close together, right? So there's just enough stuffing in there. And when you get it about halfway closed up, if your corners are feeling a little empty, you can just reach your hand in there and fill it up. So let's measure it again. We are still at about 8 inches on both sides. Okay, let's see if I can get a good angle here to show you. Let me scoot back a little bit. How I close up the top of my pillows. Alright, so I ended up down here with my working yarn. You've still got your 9 stitches on each side. You want to kind of bring them together like this. You know, the first few anyways, just to kind of squish things down and get it lining up. I just kind of push it together first before I start. And you're going to want to cut your working yarn. You'll probably need 3 widths to be safe. So I go back and forth 3 times and then I cut. If you don't have enough, you can always burn on some more. If you have too much, you can use it for scrap or burn it back to your skein. Okay, so this is stitch number 9 and this is stitch number 9 on the other side. Okay, since my working yarn is on this side, I'm going to run my working yarn end through this side because I don't want to pull my stitch out. So this is the one that's directly across from it. Oh, you can't see. Okay, so you're just going to put your yarn through the loop and pull it all through. Okay, and then you're going to go across and go back through the other loop across from it, number 9 on the other side. Okay. Pull it through. Okay, and then you're going to come across again. Let me see if I can do it like this. Okay, so I stitched up number 9 and number 9 by putting the working yarn through them. All right, so let me pull it tight. Sorry, it's getting a little hard to hold this thing. I'm gonna pull this back out for you. You just want to make sure that you know you're stitching directly across from each other. You're going to go through each stitch and in between each stitch, back and forth. So through the loop, through this loop, in between the loop, and in between this loop, and then through this loop and through this loop, and pull them together as you do. Okay, so this was number 9 over here. Okay, so I pulled my working yarn through it. You can see better this way. And then I'm going to pull it back through number 9 over here. I'm just calling this number 9. Okay, now I'm going to come in between number 9 and number 8 right here. Kind of hard to see. Sorry. All right. So in between them, okay, where you do your increased stitches. You'll be able to see it better once I get going. You'll see what I mean. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go across. So that's in between. And I'm going to go through this stitch because I already did in between them. Okay. And then I'm going to come back across through that stitch. Okay. Pull the yarn through. Okay. Now, so that's number 9 and number 8. These are number 7s. Okay, I'm going to go in between them through this spot right here. Okay. If you just go through the loops, you're going to have big gaps on the top. And then I'll come back across and go in between the 2 loops where they were. So in between, through the loops, and then in between each loop. And this gives you just a nice tight close up. The end will look a little different than the bottom. I mean the corner will, but nothing major. Alright. Okay, so I went in between the loops. Now when I go back across, and you gotta alternate sides. So I'm on this side now, and I'm gonna go through a loop. And it might drag your stuffing out a little bit. Alright. Pull it tight. And then I'm going to come back across and go inside this loop. Yeah, this is a much better angle. Alright, see how nice that's closing up? You can't see any gaps. So now grab these 2 loops, even though you're not going to use them yet. It's good to hold them together. And then you're going to go up and over, and you're going to go in between the stitch this time. Okay, so since we went this way, now we're going to come back this way, and we're going to go in between the loops. Alternate sides, go through the loop, and then go in between the loop. Pull it through, okay. Better angle. I'll go through this whole loop. Pull it out, kind of like sewing, and then back across through this loop. Okay. So we did loops that time, so this time we'll go in between loops. Get our working yarn. So go across to this side, in between your stitches or your loops, whatever you want to call it. Back across to this side, in between. So one time you'll go in between, and one time you'll go between or in the loops. And if you see like you still have a gap, you can go in between it twice. And you can go through the loops twice if you need to. I'll use more yarn, but you know, it's worth it. You don't want any holes sticking out. And if you find that this side looks a little shorter than that one, just because of the, you know, closing it up differently, you can go back and add another row. You can do 11 rows on this end instead of your other. It's just going to depend on how much you stuff it. So hold the loops together so that you can find the spot in between. I'm going to check my polyfill here in a minute, make sure everything is pushed over in the corners where I want it. Back through there. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to try and fix this corner because it's bulging a little bit. I think when I started it, I just didn't get it tight enough. So was trying to show you, but if I put some polyfill in there, it's gonna fill it out a little bit. See how we're looking. Dismiss my there. See, looking good. Yeah. So if I measure this now and it looks shorter than the other side, you could take it apart really quickly and add another row. So we are now down that we stitched it closed. We're just a little over 7.5 inches. And then on this end, we're closer to 8. And that's, again, because of the closing it up differently. But I can also get my hand in there and spread it out a little bit. And add some more polyfill. So it's good to measure it before you close it all the way up, in case you don't like something, you know. Because it will be really noticeable, you know, after you've had it on your couch for a little bit. This one looked about a 1/2 inch off to me, and it was driving me nuts. So I took it apart. But you want to do it before you get this all closed up, because that's really hard to undo this cast off here. Alright, so I got a little extra polyfill in there. Now I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. Alright, and I'll put this back in actually after I close up some more. Before I'm done. And let me see if I got this end up to, yeah, now we're out to 8 inches on this end now. So just play with it a little bit, you know. Make sure it's the right size for you before you close everything up. Okay, so I went in between loops last time and I left off over here. So now I'm going to go through loops on the other side. And then on this side. Okay. Now we're going to go in between loops. If you tried to cast this off the way that you do a blanket, it's just going to leave a different type of a edge. You know, the bottom is not going to look the same as the top down there, or whichever one you want to call it, the bottom and the top. Alright. Okay, alternate back to this side. Always switch sides. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Through the loops, in between the loops. Always switching sides. Okay. Now I have a little room left. I'm going to put some more polyfill there so that my corner looks good. Okay. This is going to be so pretty. I wish my camera would be showing better coloring. I don't know if it looks good to you guys, but on my end here, it just looks really pale. And this is a very, very beautiful pink. It's a baby pink for sure. I call it petal pink, like a flower petal. But it's a baby pink too. Definitely not as pale as this camera. I bought this phone. They said it was the top of the line, best camera there was. And it still doesn't get colors right. It's very important to remember when you're buying yarn online too, like mine on Amazon. It's never going to look the same when you get it as it does on a computer screen. And I've had quite a few people leave me bad reviews over color, and it's really unfair and it really hurts the business. Just because it didn't match what it looked like on their computer screen. And I have tested it and showed people, like, here's my phone, here's yours. We're both looking at the same listing and the same color, and it looks more yellow on my screen and more green on yours. So, you know, that's just a difference, the variance in computer screens, and there's nothing we can do about that. So it's really hard to buy yarn online if you need it to match something exactly. You know, just be understanding that it might not be that color when you get it, and you can just easily return it. Amazon makes it so easy to return things, and just, you know, exchange it for a different color, or, you know, maybe buy something else. I don't know. But just, you know, be a little tolerable when it comes to colors ordering online. Alrighty, we're almost almost done here. I went in between. Now I'm on my last loop. And then we will just tie it and burn it however we want. We can weave it back through a little bit. Okay, the corners always, you know, sometimes they're a little funky when you do this, but it's much better than casting off like a blanket. All right, look at that beauty. It turned out so much better than my other one. All right, so I've got enough here, but let me see if I can show you. All right, see there's still a little like gap there that's bugging me. So I'm just gonna take the yarn and go back through it. You can weave all the way through again if you really need to, but it might change the look of it, and I really like how that looks. I mean, look at that end. This was where we started, you know, with the square shape, how you start a square pillow. This was our cast on chain right here, and see how it's like crisscrossed. This looks almost the same. I love doing it this way. All right. So I'm going to cut this because it's just way too long, and I don't need that much. I mean, it's up to you. If you don't want to burn, you can just shove it down inside the pillow. But just make sure you weave it through a couple times, or you can just burn it to one of these pieces. Let me see if I can find another spot that I can weave this back through. There we go. Just pull up a piece just to make sure it's extra secure. And I will cut it even shorter. I kind of decide how I'm going to do it as I'm making the pillow. Sometimes I'll burn it. Sometimes I'll just stuff it down in there. You know, it's hard when you're selling things. You want to make sure that it's very secure. So you just hold up your yarn. You can burn it to anything. Push it together. Try not to burn yourself. Hold it there for a minute. It doesn't have to be as secure as when you're joining skeins. You just want it to stay there. Even if that were to come loose, it's weaved through there so many times that it's not going to come out. And there we go. Look at that. Beautiful bow pillow. And like I said, if I worked on it a little harder, I could probably thought of a way to attach something here to look like the ends of an actual bow. Or, you could put some yarn there if you want, whatever you like. I think it looks cute like this. I've seen quite a few done on pictures and stuff before, where they just made the bow like that. So like a mini bow. All right, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm sorry if I talked too much, and I hope I covered everything slow enough for you. Just like, subscribe, and comment so you'll get notifications of any new and upcoming things going on in the Chunky Knitted Creations by Marcy and Maya world, and that is our trademarked company. Both names are trademarked, actually. And that is our Amazon brand, is Marcy and Maya brand yarn on Amazon. And I'll link the Facebook groups again in the description, like just under the title of the video. If you click more, you'll see all these things that I say that I'm adding. If I put it in the comments, it always gets buried. So I like to put it in the description, like just under the title, and you'll see. I can link the scissors that I use and the lighter. It's in a ton of my other videos. If I do forget, just any of my other videos will show you. Always there's going to be a link to my yarn in the comments, and probably said this already, but links to the Facebook groups where you can come. Sometimes running specials and promotions on my yarn, and you'll get notifications from the extra discounts there that are running on Amazon. And yeah, that's about all for now. Comment anything else that you would like me to try to do a tutorial on. If there's a different shape pillow that you want, or a plushie, I can try and get that done for you. There's more tutorials in my groups than there are here, because members do them for us. Group members do sometimes, and I can't put their videos on my YouTube channel. But they do have their own. So once in a while, they'll submit one, and there's like surface knitting that a lot of people want to do. Like if you wanted to add a letter onto this, we have some videos there that show you how to do that too. So that would make it even cuter. Lots more to do there. Okay, we'll let you go, and everybody have a blessed day and happy knitting.